The initial idea was to bring artists, instructors in to help create finished video projects with the students.
Basically what we did is we did a little bit of brainstorming between Kathleen and Natasha and I, and we went from there and basically said, hey, let's have them pick poems. We gave them a list. They voted for their favorite poems they had either already covered in class or they hadn't gone over yet. 3 poems, 3 groups, various numbers within the groups, but with the understanding that the core members of those groups would then go ahead and become the sort of directors, producers, story writers for those particular poems, and then from there they'd go ahead and kind of work with each other between groups to really do the production and to really get into editing and all of that.
One ended up doing it on a uniform killer, which is kind of fun, like a comedy horror. And then the other one decided to do it on the Detroit Ninja, which is almost a kind of a gang action type movie.
It's just about a guy who is known from fighting, and his girlfriend asks him not to fight, but she ended up getting kidnapped by the gang, and so he has to fight to get her back. And then in the end, you find out that she was a part of the game all along.
The African American class was really, really interesting. They ended up taking the book that we were using, which is the African American literature book for the 10th graders, and pulling different authors and different pieces out of that book, and either interpreting that poem or that story, or modifying it, or doing a parody of it. So they really incorporated a lot of things, just different authors and different stories from that book.
So we kind of flip the meaning of, not the meaning of the poem around, but the actual, the dynamics of the poem, but to fit in their culture, to fit with what's going on right now in their school.
You only have 55-minute classes, so when you are trying to tackle a piece of literature or an author, sometimes you only have 55 minutes to do 2 or 3 poems in a day, to keep the kids' attention and things like that. So in 55 minutes, you don't nitpick and get into all the details or the similes and the metaphors of each poem. So this allowed them to go back into the poems that they already researched, or explore new poems and kind of pick those figurative and literary elements out, which was really, really nice. So it was a little more, you had to break down and analyze it and then kind of move it around and shift it to fit 2007, or come up with something abstract or creative that really represented that poem.
What I learned out of this class with Natasha and Erica is that editing can be a little hard, but acting can be an easy way to go, but editing is like a whole nother level for you to go through. And really I found out that editing, in a way, if you understand it, it can be easy, but if you sit there and just lack off, it's gonna be hard if you don't pay attention.
Also, it just feels good. It feels good to see my students in a different light, to see my students actually enjoying themselves and learning at the same time in a non-traditional type setting, and that's fabulous. That's why you teach.
Honestly, I never experienced working with cameras and stuff and editing and stuff like that. So it taught me how to edit. Like if I wanted to do something like outside of school, make a movie or something with a cousin or a family member or something, it showed me how to do that, how to put the equipment together, and to communicate better with some of the classmates.
Through this, I have seen them jump out on the roof, I've seen to take pictures, I've seen them, lay around in the grass and roll in the grass to get film covered. I've seen a lot of their, inner personality pulled, sucked out of them, which is always a good thing. Because the more you express yourself, I think the better people understand you. And so I think even the bonds between each other, myself and them and, themselves and their peers really kind of took flight in this course.
What I've come to realize through this, the biggest thing I think I've learned is that
The way you got
you
there.
actually, it's what do the kids learn along the way? If I just get 5 kids stoked about filmmaking, that's what matters to me at the end of the day. It isn't about did they make the best film ever, because in 4 weeks, from pre-production through production, through post-production, there's no way you're gonna make the best film of your life, but your first film, yeah, you can do it. I think that's the most important thing really, is to kind of finally, for me, to come to that realization. That it's about the experience, it's the sort of journey versus the end result.
I saw the students gain so much confidence. In both classes, I've seen them, step up to the plate, be self-thinkers, be creators, be motivators to their peers. Really just, I've seen them gain so much confidence in themselves and in actually the work that they could produce. And so that's great.
This class is 5th hour, and this is a web design class / Miss Obie's.
The class consists of beginning web design, which the students will learn a program called Photoshop. Photoshop is a graphic design program, and within this program they learn how to create their web pages. Instead of going straight to a web design program, they create the pages in Photoshop, and they learn how to use shapes, they learn how to use different effects for creating their web pages, and they get to use a lot of the tools and learn new tools, and they also get to have a lot of fun.
Using Photoshop, I had never used Photoshop, Dreamweaver, none of that stuff, and I had to learn the process of and how to use things, how to use the different tools and everything. Now, if I was to grow older and make my own business and I had to design a website, I wouldn't have to hire somebody. I have the knowledge now to do it myself.
My web page was about various things, such as clothing, hair, boys, of course, and one page was about jumping, which was a variety of things. It had blogs, TV comments, music comments, gossip, everyday life, events, concerts, etc. I couldn't do it on just one thing because I had a lot of things I wanted to put on one page, so I made it a various of pages. In the beginning, it was I had to continuously redo stuff because I kept messing up. So for all of my mistakes, which I had a lot of, I had to keep getting them fixed. I'm gonna say fixed. So every time I had to fix them, I was a little frustrated, and I got frustrated to the point that I didn't want to come back. But I did, and I got it right, so now, yeah, that's how I know I properly know how to use it.
How do the students benefit from having this web design program? They benefited greatly. I mean, I can't even go into detail about how much they learned, because everything that they learn in these programs are tools that they can use in everyday life, and that's what's so good about the web design program.
Ms. Keaton came to our classroom and asked who wanted to be in the class. I was the first to sign up, because I already wanted to do web design. And it was better for me to do it now while I had the chance before I get to college. Because I've always been interested in computer technology and web design and everything like that already since a young age, really. I don't know, just being on a computer anyway, most of the time. And then just dang, if everybody else doing it, why can't I?
I wanted to be in web design because my mom had took web design and I liked what she was doing. And I know it's a good profession, and even though I might not go into it in college, I can still do this as a little sport. Because I like this class, I like Miss Keaton, I like Mr. Mag, I like the students. It's not a loud environment, and it gives me something to do. And if it wasn't for this class, I wouldn't have never gotten into the newspaper. And I like being on the newspaper because I like attention.
I know a couple students, they had never heard of Photoshop before, they never seen the interface or anything like that. And I just remember how it was when I first started off in college. I had never heard of Photoshop either, and it really is a great asset to use for photo manipulation and setting things up for things of this sort, like web design and things like that. So they can use it for a whole bunch of different things now that they know the basics of it. This particular class, a lot of students were just forward. This was a wild class. I like them a lot, but yeah, it was good times. I'll just stop right there, the good times.
I would like to tell them to take what you learned in my class and incorporate it in your everyday life. You learn the Photoshop and the Dreamweaver programs in here, but I'd like you to keep working at it, keep getting good at it, because it can take you far. Don't look at it as it stops as soon as this program is over and this classroom is over.